You're listening to Forever Fierce with Catherine Grace O'Connell, only on LA Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to the Forever Fierce Revolution. I am Catherine Grace O'Connell. We are on our second show this month of Men's Health Month. And we have a wonderful month with 4 different male guests to share incredible information from their lives and wisdom that they've learned to pass along to our wonderful audience out there. So in honor of Men's Health Month, I let my business partner, my manager, my photog, and my Sherpa come on the show.
I feel it's so great that you let. So, how about invite?
Is that more empowering?
Yeah, because then I have the option of saying no.
Would you say no? Do you ever say no? I just want to know.
You know, the salary is just so amazing that I'm just trapped in this job.
I double and triple it daily, but it really doesn't matter. So, well, I am super excited to introduce our guest today.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
It should be interesting, and we have kind of a parallel story a bit. So Philip Foster, I had found Philip's story on David Harry Stewart's newsletter, Ageist, and it's a newsletter that I look forward to because the stories are very relevant to our audience. And Philip Foster, he is a voice coach, and he is actually on Skype here waiting to join us from the UK. And Philip is the founder of the Philip Foster method, and also his own methodology of helping people find their voices, particularly those who have been impacted by trauma, which I think many of us have, and our voices have been shut down. So I would like to welcome Philip Foster to the show.
Hello, how are you, Catherine?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us, Philip. How are you across the pond?
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you so much. Well,
see, Philip, I got to tell you, I don't think the voice has anything to do with it. All you need to get through life is a British accent.
Right? Isn't that the truth? I know, just talk. Just talk.
You're going to turn into an American speaking. I can see that. We're going to be swapping accents.
You're just instantly like refined and dignified and put on a whole different level.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm delighted. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And I know you have a powerful story to share about how you really lost your voice and then how you found your voice. So if you're open, please share with our audience your story of really going through some very difficult trauma, but in the end, it sounds like it's a great blessing in your life and the lives of many people that you help today.
Well, yes. You know, the saying, sufferance is awakening, and that is surely true for my story and many out there, I'm sure. So I had a very, very happy childhood until a certain point where I wanted to sing in a church choir, and I, thoroughly trotted off to the church choir like, local kids in the area. And it was there that I suffered sexual abuse for probably about 4 years. And I always say to people that I was physically, emotionally, and spiritually abused. It caused huge trauma in my life and took my voice, literally, as simple as that, just took my voice. I was silenced. You know, when a child is told to keep a secret in the house of God, it takes your voice completely. And I held that secret for 43 years, actually.
Wow.
I'm sorry to go straight in, but that is how I lost my voice.
That's how we roll here. We gotta go straight in.
At that time, Philip, were you actually told you're going to keep quiet about this and you're not going to talk about it, or was that just implied?
No, I was told that I must. My abuse happened in the church in front of the icon of Jesus Christ. It was an extraordinary, immediately I was thrown into judgment, really, and fear. And, you know, from that moment, my muscle contracted into absolute fear. And it's been a process of undoing that trauma. I mean, I believe that, you know, I was born free and connected. The first thing I did at birth was to take that breath in, contract that muscle, and voice freely.
It's a powerful
The
story.
voice of life.
Yeah. We were watching a documentary, a very powerful documentary, to do research for the show, and it was really all about, you know, how our voices are taken away, and it's not necessarily the physiology; it's the emotional response and all the different parts of our physiology that play a role in that. So now, in your Philip Foster method that you have created, is that what you do? I know in reading about you, you said, I believe you said this, that you can't teach somebody their voice. It's already there.
Yeah, it's a process of remembering. A lot of voice coaches are teaching people how to sound, how they should be, or the perfection of the voice. You know, for me, it's not my job to teach someone to, you know, it's their voice, it's their unique vocal vibration. It's already there. When that baby cried for the first time, it had no language. It just had sound. Its body is a sounding vessel. We're all created to sound. And that pure sound can be just disconnected like that. And I feel that my life has been a process of trying to be reconnected, trying to reclaim my own vocal vibration, my unique vibration, and actually, I would say, reclaiming my connection to God.
That's a powerful irony, isn't it, from how this initially started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is extraordinary. And my...
Are we there? Did we lose connection here?
Philip, you there?
Can you hear us?
We're still connected.
We're still connected.
Yes, I'm here.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, we lost you there for a moment.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear. Yeah, we can hear. We can hear you now.
Good.
So I was just saying, you know, the real irony of that is you lost it really in the house of God, and here you are really reclaiming, you know, the gift that you were born with, which is the gift of our voice. Are you there?
I'm sorry, it disconnected slightly there again.
Oh yeah, it must be this across the pond. All I was saying is that, you know, it's a very interesting irony that here you've lost your voice in the house of God, and you're really using the belief in God and faith, and that you were born with a voice and you have a right to reclaim it.
No, I wanted to make one comment because I thought this was really interesting out into talking about the documentary that Catherine and I had watched on the way up here. Because, you know, a lot of times what we see, and I'm sure this resonates with you, has been in musical theater during your life, but what we see gets reflected in art, and one of the cases that was put forth in this documentary was Tommy. Was, you know, the whole point of when he was 3 years old in the rock opera, that his father killed his mother's lover, and he was told, you will not talk about this, you will not repeat this, you will not remember seeing this, and that's how he became the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that trauma we hold in our body, I believe, you know, the muscle, if I'm coaching the voice, let me explain, if I'm coaching the voice, it is about releasing, to get the breath into the body, releasing, and then the contraction. It's the contraction that holds the voice, the sound. That's how we create sound. So if that release contraction is not in rhythm to yourself and other people and to the planet, we do not sound. We just live in trauma. And most of my work is not actually in sound. It is to find silence, to be in your peace. And it's in your peace that we can then find the natural contraction of the muscle to to sound your authentic voice, your unique vocal blueprint. That's hard because society in itself imprints huge amount of fear on us,
Certainly, there's a lot of fear in society. So speaking of fear, what gave you the courage after clearly decades of silence to finally speak up and speak out and really go inside and undo what was done to you?
Because because I didn't have a voice, I'm an accomplished pianist. So when I was young, I practiced and practiced and practiced the piano. The piano became my voice. It was my way of really expressing who I was. And then I had an ability to work with professionals came to me, and I just understood the voice. And I started working through their voice. They became my voice. I've made so many people very successful through their voice, earning lots of money in the movies, in films, in musical theatre. And so that, I've always believed that people have the right to be amazing, truly amazing, to fly. And I would never, ever, people come with a lot of labels when, can everyone sing? Or, I don't think I can sing, or I'm this type of singer, or I'm this type of, speaker. I just say, you're a voice, you have a right to voice. This is why we're on this planet, to make sound. You are a sounding vessel. And it is that vibration that is the manifestation of everything. And that manifestation happens in the silence. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but
you're making perfect sense, I think, because Mike was really by my side during this journey of finding my voice, as I almost lost my life 3 years ago, and Mike ended up actually unwittingly becoming my caretaker, and he knew me really as a woman without a voice prior to, that time.
Well, I'd probably qualify that a little bit. While you didn't have a voice, the voice you did use was really that of a little girl.
Yes.
Just a childish.
Yes.
And that voice has changed so dramatically, I would say, in the last year and a half, as she has found her voice and found herself and her confidence and her purpose, that it's really been an amazing thing, because now she calls my name and I don't even know who's talking to me. Who's that?
I'm trying to get to his golden voice.
She even changed her name to match the new voice, which I think was a great idea.
I did. It's been an evolution.
Let me explain about that high-pitched voice. Mm-hmm. So the higher the contraction, the more we contract the body, the higher the pitch. Mm-hmm. So if we grieve, the contraction of the body is so much that the voice it's a literally high squeak. And that's what happens. And the body gets stuck in that contraction. We have to learn how to go into the silence, into the release, into what I call the lake of silence. And it's in the lake of silence that everything exists. Everything. There is nothing that cannot be manifested through the vibration of the voice. And what's really important, Catherine, is that my voice is important. I have to have a listener. I have to have you, because two things can only vibrate off of each other. I cannot vibrate on my own. I believe I am a healer. Vibration is my healer. But I need someone else to with. I have done it, that's how it works. We should all be in harmony in vibration and not, disharmony.
There's no question that our voice is clearly an enormous part of who we are as a human being, but there's also a connection to, I know you're very much into Ayurveda and holistic healing, and the connection with the voice and our immune system and illnesses and this repression suppression. So please share, what have you learned about really the connection between the voice and our health and well-being?
Well, the universe is made up of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Even things that are solid are made up of vibrational energy fields at a quantum level. law of vibration states that everything that exists in our universe, whether seen or unseen, broken down and analyzed at its purest form and most basic form, consists of pure energy or light that resonates as a vibratory frequency or pattern. Our bodies have to be in vibration, and if that vibration is incorrect, the body gets stuck, you stop that natural flow of energy, and our health suffers. It's as simple as that for me. So if we can either heal from the body, or I can heal through the sound. So if we change the sound and vibration of the voice, that in turn is your body. It's the sound of your body. If I work with an Ayurvedic specialist, Thomas Muller. What he does with the body, I do with sound. So we work from the inside out and the outside in. Catherine, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
If I was to ask you what was your personality, what would you say?
When I talk about my personality, I'm kind of like the Kelly Ripa on the outside and Oprah on the inside.
Right, good. Right, your personality, your persona. Per means through, sona, sound.
Oh,
Your
interesting.
personality is your sound of you, the sound of you.
Interesting.
Right? We are only the sound.
It's a
We are
vocal
not
signature.
language.
Yeah, it's a vocal signature we each have that can't be, I would imagine, not be duplicated like a thumbprint.
Absolutely. So your forgive me for saying this, Catherine, your personality is the sound of you. The sound of you. And that is when we feel unhappy, we're ill, our voices instantly change. So when you go through that trauma, your personality changed. Because it is the sound of you. So if we work on the sound of you, then that's where everything develops. I think you become reconnected to God. You become reconnected to your soul, reconnected to yourself.
Yeah,
actually, let me interject here. So it sounds a lot like some of the theories you hear out there of changing your vibration to heal things that are either wrong with you, you have illness or things like that. And what I hear you saying, Philip, is that even if you have this types of trauma that you can spend years in therapy and trying to heal the trauma, one way that may help you do that is actually changing your voice, changing the vibration of your voice so it fits who you really are, and that in and of itself may help alleviate some of the traumatic things that you experience.
Okay, I'm going to alter a word, and that's not change. Remember, remember your voice. Right. You had it when you were born. The baby had that voice. It was totally just a sound. Remember, the baby doesn't have language. It doesn't think I need to cry. It doesn't have any language. It just makes sound. That sound is
there again.
Vibrational universe. For us, the parent, it is about it's crying. It needs our help. But that baby has it's just a sounding vessel. It knows what to do. So I would say it's not about changing our voice. It's about remembering our sound, who we are.
I think it's the metaphor, which Mike has seen this in me, of what I feel like this deepening of the self. Like you talk from a very spiritual perspective, as do I, that really everything to me comes from, if you want to call it God, source, universe, whatever that name is, you use it, but comes through us. And when I've found my voice, I've really deepened into myself and found myself.
Yes, absolutely.
And go ahead.
Techniques, my method, vocal vibration, Vivi, which means to live, it is about finding the methods to release and really go deep into your voice, to literally reconnect with that baby when you were born, at the moment of pure sound. Most people get language and voice confused. Language is carried through the vibration. We use language to communicate, but actually if the language and the vibration are not in harmony and they're not authentic, then the language is interpreted in a completely different way because your body automatically is receiving that vibration. So communication and self-expression is not there, either for the listener.
And that's how we connect to one another. And one thing that comes up for me when you share your story, your personal story, and the roots,
Yes.
really traumatic roots of this story, Mike and I both have Catholic backgrounds. Mike went to Notre Dame, and I also, I had a Catholic background. I raised my kids through the Catholic school. My kids were in the Catholic school when the priest at the Catholic school actually was, a pedophile, and it was all uncovered. And clearly we know right now with Me Too and Time's Up, and even before that, all these revelations in the Catholic Church. So what's the connection to all of this coming up and out for you, the truth, surfacing, and how has that been in your healing process?
I'm not quite sure I understand exactly what you're saying. Are you saying
how seeing this kind of truth, this has been suppressed in you personally for decades, and also in the Catholic Church, and sexual abuse, and people have been forced to repress their voices, forced to repress the truth. So how has this been? Clearly there's something going on in the universe, and there's a lot of truth surfacing in many places where it has been suppressed historically. So just curious as to, has this been even more healing for you, watching all of this kind of coming up and out, and for many people?
Yes, but I have to say, silence is what someone who is silenced from trauma or from society or from shame, let's say, because it all boils down to I was shamed, so I didn't, I lost my voice from that terrible word shame. However, that is not silence. It's noise. It's internal trauma noise. That's not silence. So we have to be very careful what I call the lake of silence, and what is shame silence, which I think is just an internal sort of screaming, really. I feel that if I explain how I feel the voice works, and I think this is a big connection to actually what's happening, if I be so bold, I believe that our crown chakra, we receive the energy from our higher self through the crown chakra. We breathe it in to the root of the planet, to the planet. It goes through the sole of our feet, and I mean the sole of our feet, through to the muscles, into the soul of which sits in our pelvis, and we contract the body into sound. That's our direct connection with our higher self, into sound. Our energy in our body has to be free to receive, and I think shame has cut that. From our root to our sexual chakra, from our power chakra, all of that has been shamed. It's been silenced, and it's been, we don't embrace our sexual side at all. It's sort of, suppressed. And I think at that level, I think that's where the problem is, actually. And I think shame, I'm going to say something very controversial about the situation. But I don't think it's controversial. I think it's about forgiveness. I think if we do not allow the abuser to have a voice, he remains in shame and silence. As a society, we have to give him a voice so that we can stop the abuse. Because something has happened to that baby to cause that abuser. And I think we have to learn and give them a voice. Otherwise, we're not working in forgiveness. And, we're repeating the generational pattern of abuse. I think...
I would say, Mike, you would agree with that, wouldn't you? And seeing the connection, the correlation between really shame and silencing, be it me or the many women sharing their stories in our community.
Well, I agree, but I think what Philip's talking about is actually giving a voice to the abuser as well. Because
Yes.
if we don't find a way to figure out what's causing that tendency to abuse, how do we ever get past that? And you know, that kind of leads me to a little bit of a question, and whether it's an abuser or an abusee. With your training and your experience, Philip, how accurate do you think you are when you just hear someone speak for a little while to you, that you can really tell a lot of things about their personality, or things that may have, you know, affected them in life? And I'd just like to hear your how you experience that when you meet someone for the first time, you don't know anything about them. Are you able to build some sort of a profile
Yes.
from that?
Yes, immediately. Because I can see how the technique of the voice, this is what I'm trying to explain. If your body is not receiving full energy and creating sound, that already I can see where the blockages are in the body. So therefore, I can see where the trauma lies. You know, it takes discipline and skill. My method, vocal vibration, the forgotten art form. It's an art form. We have to work our voices. We have to, and you know, to be. It's an ongoing thing. You know, to awaken. It takes a lot of work. You know, it does. I mean, I always say that I know a lot about what I do and know very little about everything. You know, and even, you know, my voice method is developing and developing and developing, and it's an ongoing journey.
Well, I think what you said there about shame and the correlation, you know, that's the whole cornerstone of Brené Brown's work and her talk on vulnerability. This shame that we carry that really shuts down everything, including our permission for ourselves to have a voice, to speak. And part of that is being believed, isn't it?
Yes. You know, it's that trauma that disconnects us from our voice. You know, that moment that you lose that connection to yourself, your voice. You know, we go back to the word personality, persona, through sound. As soon as that connection has gone, we are then trying to use other things to connect us to people, validation, approval, you know, everything. That's where it all goes wrong. You know, our egos kick in, and, you know, but we know it, so we're in search of something, but we just can't find it. And it's already there. It's our voice, our voice.
We have a community of women that a lot of them are mothers. And this happened to you when you were quite young. So did your parents know? Were there some signs? Was there anything that would, you know, help these women to kind of see maybe something's off? There's something, you know, going on with my child. Was there anything that your parents could have seen? Anything somebody could have seen?
You know, abuse is very, very clever.
It is.
You know, the point is they don't want anyone to find out. Mm-hmm. That child, but, you know, I always say abuse is a quiet thing, not because we've been silenced, because it creeps in. It's something that creeps in. It's not something that's just there, you know? So I think it's very, very hard to detect. But I would say life changes instantly. The way a child expresses, the way a child holds, the way it touches, everything changes overnight.
Well, I think Mike would say my personality, like you get back to the personality and what that really truly means. I would imagine your personality changed.
Yeah, because your voice will change. You become quiet.
How much of it, Philip, how much of it has to do with the fact that when an abuser does something, the person who is abused, the moment they take 10 seconds, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, and they don't say anything, the shame that's involved and the control that the abuser now has makes them complicit in the abuse. And it's this really vicious circle that I can't talk about it because I'll be ashamed. And that's kind of the circular thing that goes on that sometimes perpetuates these things for so many years before someone can find a way out.
Yeah, because your body literally goes into the trauma state. So it goes into contraction and it cannot release. You know, I'll explain. I actually suffered from, I mean, it's extraordinary really with my job. I mean, it's extraordinary how it's all, you know, healed itself. But I was diagnosed last year with emotional anorexia. And it's where a child, the only thing he can control is his feelings. So I used to control and never connect to people because that is how the child learned to deal with everything. And emotional anorexia is very common in abused children, to control the emotion, to not feel anything. To go into trauma state means just to be numb. If you know, when you go on a roller coaster, you go up on that first, you know, of course, you know, the first loop or whatever. Before you go over, you know, the body's tense with that sort of feeling. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen?
I hate roller coasters, and you're really hurting me.
Yeah, emotional anorexic, and I think an abused child gets stuck there before it goes over the, you know, the top.
That's a really good analogy. That's a great analogy because I hate that feeling, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And if I felt that all the time, I would be a mess. That's a really great analogy. Let's you know, one of the things here is, and what everyone always has to show people is, you had this difficult background. You had dealt a tough hand. So was Catherine. Let's talk about your successes after that and how you used the healing that you found to do some really amazing things and have a lot of fun in your life and create a life that you're really amazed by. And I know it amazes us to hear some of these stories. So give us some good stuff.
Well, you know,
come on, you're in the West End, right?
And working with some amazing celebrities
and
all kinds of cool stuff. I'm sure you got some cool stories in there.
Absolutely. And one of my missions in life is to give women a voice. You know, so many professional actresses of a certain age come into my studio and say, we become invisible, you know? And it is my mission to give women a voice. Why are women becoming invisible as they get older when they have more to share, more to say, more to express? I had a dear friend. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago, but she was my dearest friend. And she came to me, and her name was Ronnie Page, and she had the most wonderful career. And she said to me, you know, I've had this amazing career. I'm 68 years old, and I'm being told that there is no work for a soprano. I mean, you know, I've been told to give up. And she said, you believe in me. Please represent me and restart my career. So I thought about it in terror, actually, thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to do it if someone else can't, you know? But I said, okay, this is the conditions. I'll take you on if you come into the studio and you work hard on your soprano voice, and I want you to be right back in the muscle of that soprano. So in a month's time, 6 weeks' time, you're going to be better than you are today. Because I believe if you make that vibration, you're going to attract the part. Right. Forward 3 months, Sam Mendes was going to direct Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at Drury Lane. They wanted a top soprano who had a dancing training, and Ronnie Page trained at the Royal Ballet. They wanted a top soprano. She walked in, she got the part. She created the role of Grandma Josephine for Sam Mendes at Drury Lane. And it's at Drury Lane that Ronnie was in a chorus line in '77 from Michael Bennett, the original Maggie in London. So she relaunched her career.
That's a great story, and you are speaking our language here with the Forever. It's like as though I didn't really pay you to say this, but you couldn't have said, really encapsulated the essence of our message, and that as women really hit midlife and beyond, they're more valuable than ever on the inside and really finding out who they truly are. Yeah, it's incredible. So we have an audience filled with women out there. They're looking to fiercely reinvent themselves, many of them looking to find their voice for the very first time. So can you give them, say, 3 actionable steps that they can do in their own life to open up their voice?
Okay. 1, to start meditation. Meditation to connect with your silence. Silence, most people are working in so much noise in their head. You need to find silence to connect to your breath, the very essence of your life source, the breath. To connect. The other, so that's 1, definitely to work in meditation. I think it's absolutely extraordinary. 2, to use your voice, to experiment with your voice, to sing, to just use it. Remember. When, running around a playground when you're a child, we're screaming and we're laughing and we're using our voice. Use your voice. Experiment. Don't get stuck in just what your dialect, or, how we converse on an everyday level. Think out the box. And I would say, apart from coming to me for voice
right,
lessons.
exactly. We will get to that for sure. I think it's clearly very important.
The most wonderful part of healing, is to share, to speak, to find your honesty. And you can be honest by knowing your voice. You can't be honest and speaking someone else's voice.
3 powerful and very simple steps. So number 1, meditate, which I highly recommend to really get connected with who you truly are. Number 2, use your voice. And number 3, don't be afraid to share that voice. Those are awesome, wonderful, simple steps. And then, if people do want to work with you, Philip, like you said, you just relaunched a woman's career in her 60s, which is fantastic. And you've been doing this work for 3 decades, and you have a team behind you.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
How can people find you, and how can they work with you?
Okay, so the agency website, we're actually in the throes of putting a new website actually at the moment, but our agency website is the Philip Foster Company, so philipfosterco.com. So if you just Google the Philip Foster Company, you'll find me. And just connect through there. Send me an email at philip@philipfosterco.com. Philip with 1 L, by the way. I spend my life saying Philip with 1 L. I believe Americans spell it with 2, but I'm maybe wrong.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's clearly the voice is hugely important, and that's why I've got Mike on here today, because he has seen my own transformation, and it really started the whole healing process through the voice.
Yeah, but Philip, I'm kind of wondering now, is there an antidote? Because, one of the things I like to say is, ever since she found her voice, I can't get her to shut up now. And it's just,
meditation.
I do have
meditation. There we go.
I have one question to ask you about history, and I'd really be interested in your take on this. As a cultural society, human beings grew up, or evolved, I should say. We were storytellers, right? Everyone learned through the village storyteller, and that's how we learned history. Then we moved, obviously, on to writing, but writing became very eloquent and things like that. And what I want to pinpoint is, how much have we lost in the last 20 years where we started speaking through our fingers with computers and texting and shortening every piece of language that we use?
Okay, I think we're in serious trouble here, because people are using their voices less and less and less and going into this silence, which I don't think is silence again. It's this sort of chaos. And no one is using their voices to communicate. If the vibration is health, imagine what it would be like if we all joined up as a community on the planet and we joined our voices as one. Imagine the power of that healing. Of course there's great healing in the internet and the way we, this amazing world, of course, but let's not silence our voices. We need to, start more opening ourselves up, opening our hearts up. We have lost the ability to hear the sound of the planet.
Yeah, there's a real art to communication, like you said, and the old-fashioned, I'd go back in any day to the days when I was growing up, and we were really able to connect with ourselves, with nature, with one another, in a whole different way. And I think there's a real danger in this sort of false sense of connection that's really an illusion through all the internet. It's a real disconnection. Well,
and anecdotally, it may be coming full circle. It was interesting. I read an article yesterday on, and as someone who's redesigning your website, you probably understand this, that everyone optimizes their websites and articles and things like that for something called SEO, which is really what someone types into a computer for search. But the point that the article was making is that that's all going to have to change, because as we're teaching computers language and voice recognition now, people aren't going to be inputting with their fingers anymore. They're going to be speaking questions. And so who knows, maybe we're evolving back to where the voice is going to be a more important part of how we interact with our everyday life.
But it's interesting because a lot of recordings and sound that we're listening to isn't vibration. It's an imitated form of. So will we start imitating the computer sound? It's.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. We got to get back to basics, I think, here.
Absolutely. I believe that there will be sounding chambers of wonder in every city. This is my aim, by the way.
How important are the arts in maintaining our ability to use voice and sound language? In other words, movies, plays, music, songs, things like that. How important is that to really keep the creation of that as a main focus of our society?
Well, it reflects society. It's very important that we tell the stories. It's very important to talk, explore, sing about generational ancestry, so we know where we've come from. It's very important to know where we're going. It's very important to be in the moment and tell stories of now, whether it be tragic, be humorous. And again, I don't think it's any coincidence that I went into theatre or film, television. Theatre is a church. It's the same thing. People coming together.
Yeah, it's true.
There's someone on stage. Yes, it's the same thing. And it's that absolute joy of being in a tribe of human beings, all laughing together, making sound, crying together, making sound, in silence, listening. This is the joy. And I think it's very important. It's the health of society. It's the coming together. It's a place where we come together. And I don't know, in a lot of churches in London and in the UK, there's hardly anyone going, because it's not a community, wonderful, joyous experience. And it must be. It should be. It's so sad.
There's a lot of judgment there. It's interesting that you talk about, I know you have and I know we'll wind up shortly here, but you have the musical theater roots, and my daughter's an actress, and I grew up with her through musical theater. She started acting. My mom was an actress. She started acting at 4, and she went on to UCLA and moved out here to LA and got an agent after, now she's been acting 24 years. But
Wow.
she went into almost like a mourning when she moved out here and moved away sort of from the musical theater and the troupe and the tribe into this sort of competitive auditioning one against the other. And there wasn't this, family aspect, like you say. I mean, it was powerful for her. So I can't say enough. Musical theater, musical theater, musical theater, right?
Yeah, and also, let's use the word harmony.
Yeah.
Harmony of sound, harmony of people.
Yeah.
We cannot harmonize on our own. We need to be in a group, as an orchestra. All of this amazing, all these little parts that make this entirety. I mean, that's what's so wonderful about any film or theater. It's everyone coming together, in harmony, whether it's the sound or, whatever we're doing. It's an amazing, this is how we need to be with,
yeah,
on the planet. We need to get back together.
How we're meant to be. I mean, this goes back to Shakespeare, right? All the world's a stage.
Yes.
And, we are all actors, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, Philip has been
no. I get to ask one more question.
What? He's so see now he thinks I've got my voice now. So what?
Right.
What?
Right.
What?
See, stop shutting me up. Philip, I got one question for you. All right, your background in musical theater, you're a pianist. You get to have one more opportunity to either play a piece or play a role that brings out the strength and the best in you that would make you feel wonderful, and you could end your career on that one role. What would it be?
It would be to be in a very honest show which tells the story of my life and about my experience with sound, and to start to raise awareness of not to what it's like to be live in trauma, to have your voice taken away. I'd like to write a show on that.
You know what I love about that is you didn't pick someone else's role. You said, I want to play me. I love that.
Right?
Yeah, I do.
That's a first.
Awesome.
I know.
Awesome.
That shows the power.
Yeah, because I'm reclaiming my life.
Good for you.
I'm reclaiming my connection that I lost. And it's a process. I'm not all there yet. I've got a long way to go. So I'll invite you to the opening night.
That would be lovely. We would love that. And Mike used to actually live in the UK, so I'm sure he'd be happy to go back.
Definitely.
Right. So, Philip, truly, it's been a delight getting to know you, getting to know your story, and connecting with you on here. And I'm sure there are many, many women out there that are really looking to reclaim their voices. There's parts of themselves, they might have lost along the way, like you have, like I have. Like it's kind of the every woman, every man story. So,
well, I'd love to come to LA and do some voice work, and be fantastic. So
that would be wonderful.
Watch this space.
We would love that. Well, come on down. We'd love to have you here in LA anytime, and happy to bring you on the show in person and introduce you around here. But it sounds like you got some of your own connections. You'll probably be making this story happen.
Great. Yes, I hope so.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, have a delightful rest of, I know it's like 6 hours difference or something like that, but wherever it's dark, maybe dark there.
Yeah,
it's more than 6.
It's more than 6, 7. Okay.
10.
He knows more. All right. Well, thank you so much, Phil. Thanks for joining us, and we will make sure everyone knows where to find you and sharing the podcast.
Great. I'm delighted. Thank you for giving me a voice. Thank you.
You bet.
Take care, Philip.
Bye. Well, that was delightful.
Yeah, that was that was really interesting because can you imagine being him, where you could really deduce that kind of information as you meet someone about their life and their personality just by I think the voice is more important than probably most people would ever realize. And I think we all look at our own lives and say, what's my voice sound like? And maybe that's why, you always have that thing where someone hears their voice recorded and then played back, and they always say, That doesn't sound like me. I don't like that voice.
I know.
And that's interesting.
Back in the day when we had we're kind of dating ourselves, but what were the little voice machines where you'd leave there was no voicemail. The voice recorders.
Oh, I thought
whatever.
you were talking about Mr. Microphone.
Hey,
good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
No, I don't remember that. But the little
Microphone?
thing, you'd go home and you'd push the
come
button,
on.
and then the voice, and you'd leave a little, message, and then you'd hear it, and you'd be like, "What? That is so not me. I sound like I'm two."
You mean when you had the voice machine, and
Yeah.
then it would come, and
Yeah.
your voice would
Yeah.
come on, and you're like,
Hello.
who stole my voice machine and is imitating me? Anyhow, he didn't give me the secret of the antidote, though. I'm going to be looking for that.
Well, if your voice gets any deeper, I don't know. People might. It's pretty. I got the high one. You got the low one.
Yeah.
You got that radio golden voice.
All right, let's get out of here.
So anyway, all right. So let's get out of here. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, it is Men's Health Month, so we're going to be sharing, a couple more fabulous men. Make sure to tune in to next week's show because it isn't every day that we get to interview someone that is almost a century old. Talk about wisdom. So stay tuned. There is a new sort of social media star out there who actually doesn't use social media, but took off on social media. So make sure to tune in next week. And if you're looking to find your voice, remember those 3 simple steps. Meditation, use your voice, and share your voice. Forever Fierce community, we got a great place.
And that's a great place for you to share it, right?
It's a
in the
great-
Forever Fierce community. Go to the website, go to the Facebook group. You haven't joined, join. You're going to find so many women in there that are using their voice to support other women. You'll have a great time.
Facebook, Forever Fierce Revolution, and thank you to our Forever Fierce family for tuning in and for supporting us. And please share this, share the message, join our community, share it with your friends. It's a sisterhood, and it's based in friendship and love and kindness and empowerment. So we empower you today to find your voice. All right. Cheers, beauties. Stay fierce.
You're listening to Forever Fierce with Catherine Grace O'Connell, only on LA Talk Radio.